Hey everyone, my name is Jamie, and if you haven't already checked out my Twitch channel, I'm an avid Jackbox streamer where we stream Jackbox Party Pack games 3 days a week, every Monday, Tuesday and Thursday to be precise. So as you can imagine, I've played through a lot of Jackbox games. If you do want to come play some Jackbox with us, come check out the Twitch channel over at twitch.tv/Viva la Cabrita. A question that I get asked a lot when streaming is, what is the best Jackbox Party Pack, or better yet, which is the best Jackbox Party Pack game? There's also a lot of those tier lists which I've seen people rank the best Jackbox Party Pack games by tier. So with all that in mind, it got me thinking, what is the best Party Pack game? And it led me to the conclusion that actually, I don't know. But what I can tell you is my personal favourite Jackbox Party Pack games of all time, which is exactly what I'll be doing in today's video, starting from 10th place, going all the way down to my personal favourite Jackbox Party Pack game of all time. Just before we start the video, if you do like this type of content, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and of course like this video if you would like to see more content like this in the future. The other thing worth mentioning is that the party packs I'll be choosing from range from Party Pack 1 all the way to Party Pack 7, with some additional packs in between such as Drawful 2. So if you don't see anything in this video about Party Pack 8, that's because that game is currently under development and hasn't been released yet. And with all that said, let's begin.
Número 10.
At number 10 comes a game that features on Party Pack 7 called Champed Up. Champed Up is a game that requires you to draw a champion for a featured prompt, such as the champion of student loan debt or the champion of wacky next door neighbours, to name a few. Once you've drawn your prompt, you'll then be given someone else's prompt where you'll have to draw up a competitor to their prompt and drawing. Once completed, and in typical Jackbox fashion, you'll then have a face-off between you and your opponent, and the other players will then decide on which drawing they like the best with the given prompt. Once you've done this enough times, you're then given random prompts, and you can tag out between your champions to the one that best fits the prompt. Champed Up is a super fun game to play, and the music is arguably the best soundtrack from the Party Pack 7 series. Although the only reason why this game hasn't featured up higher on the list is that I do see a lot of comparisons between this game and TKO. And as far as drawing games go, I don't feel that the game is totally original to say the least, but nonetheless it's still a super fun concept to play, and comes in at 10th spot on my all-time favourite Jackbox Party Pack games.
Número 9.
Are you bad at drawing like me and you want to take credit for other people's work, like me? Then why not try TKO? TKO is a game where you have to draw a series of designs and later write slogans. You'll later receive a series of designs and slogans written by the other players, which you'll then have to use to create a design to stick on a shirt, and will later compete in a shirt-off with the other created designs. You battle through a series of rounds, and later in the final round, you'll then have the ultimate shirt-off, where streak winners compete against the round winners to see which is the ultimate t-shirt. What's even cool about this game is that you can later purchase the shirts and get them printed in real life should you choose to. This is arguably one of my favourite drawing games, and I think TKO, in terms of the comical factor, has just a slight edge over Champed Up. Despite it coming out a few years ago now, it still remains to be a fan favourite and one that we play a lot while streaming.
Número 8.
At number 8 comes the very funny and friendship-destroying Survive the Internet. This game has a series of rounds where you're given someone else's response from a question, and it's your job to twist their response to make it look completely out of context. Again, there are a series of rounds to this game. However, my personal favourite is the final round where you're given an image, and it then says, this player would look completely ridiculous with the prompt ... Survive the Internet is a pretty self-explanatory game that offers a lot of humorous moments, and overall it's just a fun all-round game to play. It also features on Party Pack 4, which is arguably the best Party Pack to date, along with Party Pack 6. The only downside to this game is that if you win, you gon' go to hell.
Número 7.
Are you bad at drawing but you can write a half-decent joke? Well then perhaps Joke Boat is the game for you, which features on Jackbox Party Pack 6, coming in at number 7. Joke Boat is a game where you have to write a series of topics, and later you have to choose an opening line with the theme of one of those 3 topics. For this game, I'd strongly recommend putting extended timers on, because it could be really difficult just writing one joke, let alone having to write 2. Once written, all the comedians will then go head to head, and the rest of the players will vote for the funniest joke of that round. In the final round, you'll then take someone else's joke and attempt to write a funnier punchline. The winner of the game will then jump on board the lifeboat, while the rest will remain on the sinking ship. When played with the right people, and people who are witty enough to be able to think of jokes on the spot, Joke Boat can be an hilarious game to play. I should also note that the Write For Me's in this game actually write pretty good jokes should you ever get stuck, unlike some of the other Jackbox games where the Write For Me's are pretty useless.
Número 6.
Do the rhymes and dish the dirt is pretty much how I describe this game. It's Mad vs City. This game is a fan favourite and one of my top 3 requested games that I get asked to play on stream. Madverse City is actually a lot like Joke Boat, although instead of puppets, you're huge rapping robots. You'll get a prompt on your device, something like write a verb ending in ing or a negative adjective. It'll later give you the first line including the word that you've just entered. It's then up to you to write the second line, while keeping in mind you need to rhyme it with the first line and dish out a little bit of dirt on your opponent. You'll then go into rap combat with your opponent and see who has the better lines, as later voted by the other players, which includes any audience members participating. As mentioned before, with the right crowd of people being very quick and witty, this game is super fun and hilarious to play. One thing to keep in mind though is to make sure you're able to hear the raps between rounds, as quite often they get drowned out by others speaking.
Hello! What? No, I'm at a concert!
Número 5.
At number 5, it's that game where you draw useless inventions while begging others for your money. It's patently stupid. The game involves writing a series of problems and then creating an invention by drawing something and later giving it a tagline and or catchphrase. Later you'll then give cash to the top 3 drawings you like the most, with the person ending up with the most cash being the winner of that round. There are 2 rounds in total, the first where you solve a different problem and the second where everyone takes turns solving the same issue. What's particularly great about this game is that it's one of the few games that requires you to be vocal, or should you choose to. You're really able to sell your invention in this game and also add a sense of comedy as to what you've invented and help persuade the others to vote for you. Side note, this game actually has my favourite song track from the whole of the Jackbox Party Pack series.
Badly stupid, that's what they say. If you've got an idea, hey, just tell us today.
Número 4.
At number 4 comes quite a controversial game of choice in Zeepeldome. Zeepeldome is actually the only Jackbox Party Pack game to date where you have full control of moving your characters in the game, much like if it were a game of Among Us. Your objective in the game is to use your devices to fling your characters towards the enemies you're trying to destroy. By touching them, you're then able to inflict damage on them, however, in the meantime they'll also be attacking you back with their arsenal. If you lose all of your lives and faint, you go up into the sky where you float around waiting for an active player to touch you, which then revives you and putting you back into the game. The game ends when you defeat all of the enemies or when everyone on your team dies. The issue with this game, and probably the biggest issue that most people have with playing it, especially on Twitch or other streaming services, is the lag, which makes it sometimes almost unplayable. One solution that you do have, and one that we've had success using, is using screen share on Discord. This way it'll give other players a much better chance at being able to interact in real time and actually being able to play the game. Again, this is a controversial pick, but a game that I really enjoy playing and one that is completely different from all the other Party Pack games.
Número 3.
Moving into our top 3, we separate the singles from the smooth talkers in Monster Seeking Monster. This is a dating game which involves having 4 messages per round, which you can use to chat up other players and then later pick someone to date. If you choose a player and they choose you back, you get a heart. And at the end of the game, the player with the most hearts wins the game. Although beneath that, there are powers in the game which give you access to gaining more hearts, such as Glob, Vampire, Witch, and Ventriloquist Puppets, to name a few. Alternatively, you can scrap all the hearts if you're the zombie, and just win the game just by making sure that everyone is cursed. One thing that I really like about this game, despite the fact that it's hilarious watching other people's chat up lines, is the audience mode. Normally the audience mode in Jackbox Party Pack games has limited capabilities, however in Monster Seeking Monster you can choose one of 3 automated messages to send to everyone in the game, which is then voted on depending on how many people you have in the audience, and later depending on how many people speak to you, you can then vote between those players as to who you'd like to date. Although above all, the audience feature really makes you feel like you're a real player in the game, despite there only being open slots for 7 other players. And probably the most important thing is that you can actually win by being an audience member.
Número 2.
Finishing as runners-up on our top 10 list comes the most accusational game in Push the Button. This game's a little complicated to explain in great depth, although in short, with 10 players you have about 20 minutes, where there'll be 3 aliens and the rest are all humans. The aliens know who the other aliens are, however the humans don't know who the aliens are, including who are the other humans. The objective is to push the button and to throw out 3 aliens from the ship. If one of those 3 people that you throw out is actually human and not alien, then the aliens win. The humans need to guess correctly all 3 of the aliens in order to win the game. The game itself works on playing a series of tasks where the alien prompt will be slightly different from the humans. For instance, it might say something like draw Leonardo da Vinci, whereas the aliens might receive a prompt saying draw Leonardo DiCaprio. It's up to the aliens to try and black their way through the game, convincing the other humans that they are indeed a human. However, the aliens can also hack twice a game, meaning that they can give humans an alien prompt, as well as give themselves a human prompt. But again, these can only be used twice per game per alien, which does shake things up a little. Like a lot of our Jackbox Party Pack games, playing this game with the right crowd is super fun to play. However, it can also be a bit of a friendship breaker. Once you really learn how to play the game, it does become very intricate, where you start developing new techniques and methods, although it does have up to 10 players, which means that more people can get in, although sadly no audience mode. It does take a few games to really get the hang of it and work out what you're doing, although the game draws a lot of comparisons with Among Us, which is a game or concept that most people have played. Nonetheless, despite how many times I've played Push the Button, it's still one of my favourite games to play to date.
Número 1.
And finally, number 1 and the big countdown reveal, insert drumroll. It's Trivia Murder Party 2! What I love about this game is just the simplicity of playing it. A lot of people who I've introduced to Jackbox games right off the bat are able to work out and conceptualize how to play Trivia Murder Party, whereas other games tend to need a bit of explaining at times. The concept is really simple. It's a trivia game, and if you get a question wrong, you go to the killing floor where you try and complete a task against other players to survive. Should you lose, you turn into a ghost. However, you can still play the game as if you were a regular player and collect money, as later in the game, in the final chase, you're positioned depending on how much money you have. The killing floor includes games like rules, pegs and chalices to name a few, and the game continues in the first round until only one player remains alive. Later in the final chase, you need to get all the way to the end by answering as many questions as you can, kinda as if it were a race. The ghosts have ghost questions, which gives them an option to catch up with the remaining survivor, although the survivor does get a bit of a head start. Should you fall too far behind, you'll then be consumed by the darkness. You'll need a perfect round by answering all of the questions correctly to break through the barrier. This game does, like Monster Seeker Monster, feature an audience mode, which is very similar to being an actual player. There's so many things about this game that makes it really appealing, ranging from the narrator's low-pitched voice, to the sense of humour in the jokes, and of course the individual mascots in the game, which have become pretty iconic in terms of the Jackbox franchise. Although it must be said the credits tune from the game is in my top 3 tunes of the Jackbox Party Pack series. Again, a super simple game to play, and one that despite playing it so many times still never seems to lose its appeal. And so there you pretty much have it. That was my top 10 games from the Jackbox Party Pack series. Some notable inclusions that just missed out on the list were Devils in the Details, Whiplash 3, Split the Room, Fibbage 3, and Bidiots to name a few. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, this was just strictly my opinion, although let me know if you agree with my list or not, and if not, let me know in the comment section below your top 10 Jackbox Party Pack games of all time. I would love to hear them. And of course, while we're here, if you do like this type of content and you would like to see more Twitch support videos including playthroughs and top 10s, be sure to hit that subscribe button and of course, like the video. My name is Jamie, aka Viva la Cabrita, and I will see you all in the next video.